Angeles has a new action hero. His name, Baker Mayfield. 98 yards, the game-winning pass. Tied, game-winning.
Perfectly.
Extra point. Beautiful stuff from Baker. Here's McVay and Baker after the game.
To be able to come in here 10 minutes ago and help lead us to a victory. See you guys on Monday. Baker Mayfield.
Man, that's the way to fight to the end. Yes, sir. Good. Hey, I'm happy to be home, man. Yeah. Come on! Rams on three. 1, 2, 3. Rams.
Amazing. Nick,
yeah.
You never wavered in your occasional belief in Baker Mayfield.
I don't know what do you mean by occasional.
How do you feel today?
Occasional, right?
Oh, listen, a lot better than our partner Chris Broussard. It's a tough day for him. Listen, Brew has a lot of experience dealing with the disappointment of a team he thought was going to be great falling on its face. From his beloved Clippers to his beloved Nets to,
my beloved Astros.
Beloved Astros.
and Warriors and Argentina in the World Cup.
Okay, but Brew, this is the first time Brew has jumped the gun on writing a player off, only to have that player rise from the dead.
Yes.
To bite him.
Where are you?
And I am happy for Baker Mayfield. And if we are being honest and we are being fair, even those of us that thought he was worse than Sam Darnold and that he was, just a guy, it was just me and Skip Bayless out here defending Baker Mayfield, us and I guess Oklahoma Sooners guys. But maybe a lot of those folks jumped on the Kyler Murray train. How's that one working out for you? I got to tell you, he does seem to have, even in Carolina, when he played terribly, there was none of that chatter or whispers about the teammates not liking him. The stuff in Cleveland, what was thrown at him was, well, when Odell's dad was slandering him, why didn't his teammates have his back? Carolina, the teammates seemed to like him. Los Angeles, he just met these guys, Brew, and they're giving him headbutts, they're presenting him game balls. Van Jefferson, after the best moment of Van Jefferson's professional career, is asked what the difference was. And he said, we got Baker Mayfield. Glad he's here. And so, do I think this was a fork in the road moment of his career? That if he had stayed on the Panthers as a third stringer and not gotten on the field, or if the Texans had claimed him and he deals with that nonsense down there, that Baker Mayfield becomes an also-ran? Maybe.
Yeah.
But do I think now in Los Angeles, with this moment, with that coach, with the next month, to show what he can do, that Baker can have a shocking, all of a sudden, turnaround for this act of his career? I do.
Okay.
What?
Look, I'm happy for Baker, too. All right, what we saw last night was fantastic. I was choked up a bit.
Okay.
I was. I mean, it was a great human story. I loved it, all right, even though I'm not like a huge Baker fan.
No, you hate him.
But I must shoot down the nonsense you just spewed on national television. Jeff, you were here yesterday, 24 hours ago, when Nick looked you in the eye and said, Baker should beg, plead with Sean McVay not to play.
No, I didn't say not to play. I said, if you remember, I said not to start. And did Baker start yesterday?
No.
Oh, I think I said that it would be very different if he comes off the bench.
You did say that.
Did he come off the bench?
If he comes off the bench,
I missed the
people will give him a little slack.
And did he come off the bench?
But you didn't want him to play. That's number one. Number two.
Slack and tied it around the Raiders' throat.
Number two, Sean McVay just said, we met this guy 10 minutes ago.
Yeah.
He hasn't even had a chance to get on their nerves. But I tell you, the way he bobbled up in the middle, I don't know how long that's going to last.
Oh, see? There we go.
I'm just saying. Look, Nick, he hasn't had time to get on their nerves. All right? And I'm not saying he will. But I'm just saying that isn't the evidence. He was great. I'm just not ready to say this changes all. This changes everything. Because,
you don't think there were teams around the league looking at that yesterday? They were like, well, if he's available, we'll give him a look.
I think the teams are going to look at the next 4 games. That's what they're going to do.
But he got the next 4 games by playing that well.
Well, Van Jefferson. What? Of course, Baker must look like Tom freaking Brady compared to John Wolford and Bryce Perkins.
Or Bryce Perkins.
I mean, no, he wasn't good. I watched that game. No, that's why Van Jefferson's like all in love with Baker now. And look, I want to see Baker play well for the next 4. I'm just saying I'm not ready to say he's going to be starting next year somewhere because he had a nice, incredible game.
He might be starting in Los Angeles if McVay stays next year, right? I mean, if you look at their roster right now.
Over
Stafford? You think Stafford's going to play next season? All the injuries he's had? He's like 40 years old?
I think it's on the board that he wasn't.
But you sound pretty. I knew that's been a whisper, but you feel more.
I feel more, especially if Baker plays decently down the stretch and McVay stays, obviously, right? There's rumors that he's not going to be there. Their offensive coordinator today left for Kentucky again, so their OC is gone for the last month of the year. But I think last night showed how important coaching is, right? When you play with a competent coach who has proven over his career to get the most out of Jared Goff, the most out of Matt Stafford, and the most out of Baker Mayfield in 48 hours, what that can do to your career, right? Because often we see quarterbacks go to the wrong coach, stink, go somewhere else and get better. Is Baker Mayfield going to ever be above average? Probably not. But in the right offense like this, well, above average, like 15th. I mean, that's about right for Baker if he's good. About 15th,
I
right?
agree with you. I think that's a sober take. But Nick,
you don't agree with that? You think he's an average back?
But again, showed coaching last night, right? Just because Baker Mayfield had the long 98-yard drive with no timeout under 2 minutes doesn't make it any less hard what he did. It's pretty remarkable how that game ended. The Raiders helped him, of course, the penalty, not going for it on a 4th down.
Yeah.
But what he did last night was supremely impressive for anyone that understands kind of the operation of how that works.
So, Jeff, I want to show you a graphic of all of Baker's head coaches and offensive coordinators. If you're a Baker apologist, you look at this list and you're like, you know what? No one can thrive with this amount of instability. Now, the other side of that coin is, I don't know if those coaches, no matter who they are telling Baker to constantly throw the ball, into his own offensive lineman or having stuff tipped down. Maybe he just doesn't have the physical skills to be great. So which side of that argument are you on?
His best year was with Stefanski, right? When he was healthy and was in offense. But I think we all agree that the offense needs to suit him, right? He's not going to be in every sort of offense. If he's in an offense, and this is a McVay offense, a Shanahan offense, that kind of gets the most out of quarterbacks. It's always done that. It's doing that now with Tua, obviously, right? With Brock Purdy, with Jimmy G. Like, it gets the most out of Cousins as well as in this offense. So is Jared Goff at certain points this season. And that's what it does for quarterbacks. It elevates quarterbacks. So can Baker, again, there's 4 weeks left for him to play, but can he reclaim his career in Los Angeles? Sure. But if he goes somewhere else next year, I don't think he'll play as well. I think he needs this sort of offense to be good.
And I also think that it should be noted, and we can get back to like where Baker's going to go in a moment, but none of this happens if not for the best player that played for the Rams yesterday, a future first ballot Hall of Famer, on a team that had lost 6 in a row and seemingly was dead in the water, making the play of the game on defense. And I think this is one of the things, this Bobby Wagner play, it's 3rd and 1 for the Raiders. They get a first down, the game is over. Bobby Wagner's won a Super Bowl, has been to another one. He is a multi-time All-Pro. He signed with the Rams, tried to get another Super Bowl. It has gone terribly. It's week 13. Kupp's not out there. Stafford's not out there. Donald's not out there. Jalen Ramsey at this point kind of out there in name only. And Bobby Wagner's out there in the 58th minute of that game, busting his ass. And that is what set up what could be a turning point in Baker Mayfield's career. So and just the fact that he didn't mail it in there, wasn't just like, let's just end this thing, we're not going anywhere. That speaks to what makes Bobby Wagner who he is. So I just kind of wanted, because I know everyone's talking about Baker this morning, but Brew, before the year, you and Wilds both advocated that Baker take a step back, go back up a good quarterback, and then see if he can get a starting job elsewhere. I said, if you want to be a starter, be a starter. In Carolina, I was like, no, go be a starter there. That went terribly. Now, I think Jeff has an interesting point that maybe in Los Angeles he could, theoretically back up Stafford, but maybe take that job. But even if Stafford is coming back, I agree with your guys' original take from last offseason. I think it is better for Baker Mayfield to stay in L.A., even if it's to back up Stafford temporarily, than to go to Houston and be a bridge between them and between whoever they draft number 1, or go to Indy and be a bridge between whoever they draft. I do think that if the Rams want him, wouldn't be for a lot of money, I would imagine, but that makes a lot of sense for him to stay there.
I totally agree. And we've seen it this year with Mitch Trubisky and Marcus Mariota. Now, they lost their positions. But if you're good enough, you'll get another shot. Like, I would even say, and I think the Jets have a bright future. He probably would go to the Jets if he could. But I think for his career, he'd be better off learning with McVay, who if McVay stays here in L.A., and backing up Stafford, at least for a while. Maybe Stafford won't finish the season or whatever. But I think being in that type of environment after all the turmoil and the upheaval he's had would be great for him. And then he can come back, go somewhere, and maybe have a legitimate chance of resurrecting his career as a starter.
If Baker were smart, he'd go play in the offense that has worked in his career. He'd play in the Shanahan offense, wherever that is. Because that worked, right? It worked with Cleveland with Stefanski and obviously worked in one whole game now with McVay. But if it works the last month of the year, I'd be picky if I were him. I'd say, I'm going to go the offense that suits me.
So you would be looking to start next year if you're him?
I think he could start in the NFL, but again, I wouldn't go like to the Panthers or like a team that's rebuilding or a team that the offense doesn't fit what you do. Like what Ben McAdoo does in Carolina is nothing like they do with the Shanahan offense. And so to me, if I was him, I'd be picky in where I would go. Now, this is assuming he plays well, because if he doesn't play well, he'll be a backup anywhere. But if he plays well down the stretch, then I would be picky and say, I'm going to go with the team that runs the offense I'm good at.
And I think quickly that is the question. Like, Nick, you seem convinced that he's going to light it up these next 4 games.
No,
I'm not there yet.
No. I am convinced that his career just got resuscitated. And I am convinced that a guy who, we have seen a lot of guys be great college players and never make it in the NFL. It's very rare to see a guy be a great college player, have 2 excellent NFL seasons in their first 3 years. His first year, he had an excellent rookie season, set the rookie touchdown record. His third year, he was excellent. He took a Browns team and won a playoff game and had good numbers throughout the season. It wasn't just all the running game and the defense. He was a huge part of it. It's rare for that player, barring catastrophic injury, for it all of a sudden to just go. And seemingly it had gone. Like, there was